It has happened. The declaration of war was not delivered by missile or by bomber, but by a single, seismic press release that went largely unnoticed by the mainstream. While the world was distracted by proxy conflicts and political theater, the first shot in a new kind of world war has just been fired. This is not a war for territory. It is a war for the soul of the global financial system. A war against the United States dollar. Today, from command centers in Tehran, Moscow, and Beijing, a coordinated economic weapon was launched. This is not a threat. This is not a proposal. It is the operational debut of a new global energy exchange, one designed with a single, devastating purpose: to render the dollar obsolete in the one market that gives it global dominance, the oil market. This is the story of the end of the petrodollar, and potentially the end of the American century as we know it. For over 50 years, the world has operated on a simple, unspoken rule. If you want to buy oil, you must first buy US dollars. This was the masterstroke that unchained America from the gold standard and cemented its status as the world's unchallenged superpower. It allowed Washington to print money, fund its vast military, and export its inflation to the rest of the world. That era has just been given an expiration date. The new exchange, spearheaded by Iran and backed by the full weight of Russia's energy reserves and China's industrial might, is a direct assault on this system. It is a parallel financial universe, a closed loop, where oil, gas, and other critical commodities can be traded without ever touching a single dollar. This is the culmination of decades of planning, a strategic master move by nations chafing under the thumb of American sanctions and financial hegemony. They are not just severing a wire, they are building an entirely new grid. What is unfolding is not merely a financial reshuffling. It is a geopolitical revolution. And the silence from the White House and the Federal Reserve is deafening. They know that sanctions and rhetoric are useless against this. This weapon bypasses their defenses entirely. The question is no longer if the world will de-dollarize, but how violent the transition will be. To understand the magnitude of this attack, you must first understand the foundation of American power. In 1971, the United States made a momentous decision. It severed the dollar's last link to gold, creating a pure fiat currency. To prevent a global panic and a collapse of faith in the dollar, Washington forged an ironclad pact with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The deal was brutally simple. The U.S. would provide unconditional military protection to the Saudi regime. In return, Saudi Arabia would price all its oil exports exclusively in U.S. dollars and invest its surplus oil profits back into U.S. government debt. This was the birth of the petrodollar system. Soon, the rest of OPEC followed suit. The effect was immediate and profound. Every single oil-importing nation on Earth was now forced to maintain large reserves of U.S. dollars to purchase energy, the lifeblood of their economies. This created a permanent, artificial global demand for American currency. It didn't matter how much debt the U.S. accumulated or how much money it printed. The world acted as a sponge, soaking it all up because it needed dollars for oil. This system is the ultimate source of American privilege. It allows the U.S. to run massive trade deficits year after year without consequence. It funds the most expensive military in human history, with bases in over 80 countries, policing the very sea lanes that ensure the flow of oil. Most critically, it gives Washington the ultimate weapon: the power of sanctions. By controlling the plumbing of the global financial system through networks like SWIFT, the U.S. can financially excommunicate any nation it deems a threat, cutting them off from world trade. Iran knows this power intimately. So does Russia. For years, they have been the primary targets of this economic warfare. Their assets have been frozen, their banks blacklisted, their economies strangled, but you cannot sanction a country indefinitely without it seeking an alternative. This new exchange is that alternative. It is a system built by the sanctioned, for the sanctioned. History is littered with leaders who dared to challenge the petrodollar. In 2000, Saddam Hussein began selling Iraqi oil for euros. In 2011, Muammar Gaddafi was spearheading a plan for a gold-backed African dinar to sell the continent's resources. We know how those stories ended, but this is different. This is not a single, isolated nation. This is a tripartite alliance of a major military power, a major energy superpower, and a major industrial and financial Goliath. They believe they have finally achieved the critical mass needed to withstand the inevitable backlash. They are betting that Washington cannot wage a war, economic or otherwise, against all of them at once. And that wager is now on the table. This is not a rudimentary barter system. This is a sophisticated, technologically advanced financial architecture built in the shadows over the past decade. The new exchange operates on a platform that completely bypasses the Western-controlled SWIFT system. Transactions are reportedly cleared using a combination of a new BRICS-led payment system and China's cross-border interbank payment system, or CIPS. For an asset backing, they are not relying on a single currency. The system is designed to be multipolar. Transactions can be settled in Russian rubles, Chinese yuan, or even a new basket of currencies representing the BRICS bloc. More critically, intelligence sources suggest that all transactions are ultimately redeemable for a physical asset: gold. Both Russia and China have been quietly and aggressively accumulating massive gold reserves for years, preparing for this very moment. They are reintroducing the discipline of hard assets to a world awash in fiat paper. Let's break down the roles of the three key architects. Iran is the ideological spearhead. Decades of maximum pressure sanctions have turned Tehran into an expert at circumventing the dollar-based system. They have mastered the art of sanctions busting and shadow finance. For them, this is not just about economics. It is a holy war against what they term the Great Satan and its instruments of global domination. They provide the strategic position, controlling the vital Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of the world's oil passes. Russia is the muscle and the energy depot. As one of the world's top 3 oil and gas producers, their participation gives the exchange immediate, undeniable scale. After being cut off from Western markets following the Ukraine invasion, Moscow has no choice but to pivot east. This exchange is its economic lifeline and its primary tool of revenge against the West. By providing the raw energy, Russia ensures the platform has a product the world desperately needs. And then there is China. China is the engine. As the world's largest energy importer and its second largest economy, Beijing provides the demand and the financial technology. The digital yuan, China's central bank digital currency, is expected to be a key settlement layer, allowing for instantaneous, programmable transactions that are completely invisible to Washington's surveillance. China has been patient, building its economic power, and now it is ready to challenge the system that has, in its view, unfairly benefited its primary geopolitical rival. This isn't just an oil exchange. The framework is designed to be expanded. Soon, it could be used to trade everything from wheat and soybeans to aluminum and cobalt. Every transaction that occurs on this platform is a nail in the coffin of dollar dominance. It drains liquidity from the U.S. system and creates a viable, attractive alternative for other nations. India, Brazil, South Africa, Saudi Arabia itself, who are growing weary of being subject to the whims of American foreign policy. The alliance has built its weapon, loaded it, and aimed it at the heart of the American empire. The only remaining question is how the empire will respond. Will it be with Treasury Department regulations, or with Tomahawk missiles? The consequences of this system gaining traction are not theoretical. They are a mathematical certainty. The first domino to fall would be the U.S. Treasury bond market. The petrodollar system forces nations to recycle their excess dollars into U.S. debt. It's what keeps American interest rates artificially low and allows the government to spend trillions more than it takes in. What happens when the world's biggest energy producers and consumers no longer need those dollars? They will stop buying U.S. bonds. Worse, they will start selling the trillions they already hold. To stop a complete bond market collapse, the Federal Reserve would be forced to print trillions of new dollars to buy up that unwanted debt. This is monetization on a scale never before seen. The result is not inflation. It is hyperinflation. The value of the dollar, in your pocket, in your bank account, in your retirement fund, would evaporate. The cost of everything, from gasoline to bread, would skyrocket overnight. The purchasing power of the American people would be decimated. This domestic economic crisis would trigger the second-order effects. Global investors, seeing the U.S. currency in freefall, would dump U.S. stocks and real estate, causing a market crash that would make 2008's look like a minor correction. The United States would lose its exorbitant privilege and would have to live within its means for the first time in a century. It would no longer be able to afford its massive military presence overseas. A forced, rapid withdrawal of U.S. forces from around the globe would create power vacuums, leading to a cascade of regional conflicts and instability. This is the ultimate endgame of the strategy launched by Tehran and its allies. They understand that American military power is a direct extension of its financial power. By attacking the foundation, the petrodollar, they can bring the entire imperial structure crashing down without firing a single shot directly at a U.S. soldier. The battlefields of the 21st century are not in the dirt. They are in the digital ledgers of global finance. This is asymmetric warfare in its most sophisticated form. We are now at a pivotal moment in history. The tectonic plates of global power are shifting beneath our feet. The unipolar world, dominated by the United States since the fall of the Soviet Union, is fracturing. The weapon has been fired. The dominoes are beginning to wobble. The coming days and weeks will determine whether Washington can mount a defense, or if this is truly the beginning of the end. The crisis is no longer on the horizon. It is here. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. The world as you know it is changing. The events unfolding are complex and have consequences for every person on this planet. We at Global Crisis Radar are committed to bringing you the unfiltered, moment-by-moment analysis you need to navigate these turbulent times. If you value this in-depth reporting, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. We are your eyes and ears on the front lines of this new global conflict.